Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Lam, sitting in for David Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. A shooting in Las Vegas resulted in one arrest and thousands of dollars in damages. Luckily, no one was injured. California is opening a new research park. It aims to bring together scientists and engineers to dive into tech and disease research. It's the end of the first week of 2024 and Hollywood is already mourning. More on the notable stars that we've lost. First up, a man has been arrested for firing gunshots resulting in thousands of dollars in damages at a high-end resort in Las Vegas. According to a judge, he appeared to be mentally unstable.
Las Vegas police arrested 45-year-old John Letzkus on New Year's Eve for allegedly firing over 70 shots from MGM Grand, a luxury high-rise hotel on the Las Vegas Strip.
Upon arrival, we noticed that there were gunshot impacts to the window of that unit, and then that there was also some indication that there was some shooting potentially from the balcony or inside of that unit. There are also some other gunshot impacts that we've located inside of that high-rise.
5 hours later, Letzkus was arrested. He caused over $100,000 in damage at Signature Towers, part of the MGM Grand Resort. He has about 70 felony charges and a bail of $500,000. Police recovered one handgun. No one died or was injured. During his first court appearance on Wednesday, the judge said Letzkus appeared to be mentally unstable. According to the judge, Letzkus was estranged from his wife and the subject of a court restraining order in California. He told officials he was fearful of his parents, said his spouse was out to get him, and had hallucinations and delusions. Letzkus owns property in San Diego and Oregon. Gambling news websites show he has competed in online poker tournaments since at least 2013.
Now let's take a look at other top headlines.
Update on the civil fraud case in New York involving former President Donald Trump. Now the state attorney general is seeking to fine Trump $370 million and ban him from New York real estate business for life. The filing by New York AG Letitia James on Friday said Trump's, quote, myriad deceptive schemes to, quote, inflate asset values and conceal facts were so outrageous that they belie innocent explanation. James demanded the financial penalty as repayment for profits she argues were illicitly gained, according to a document filed to the court today. Trump and his family have denied any wrongdoing and have claimed that the former president has repeatedly said his assets were actually undervalued. The judge presiding over the case, Justice Arthur Engoron, will hand down a verdict at a later date. And the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees announced today that they will vote on contempt charges against Hunter Biden. In a joint statement, Representatives James Comer and Jim Jordan said Hunter Biden's willful refusal to comply with our subpoenas constitutes contempt of Congress, adding it warrants referral for prosecution. This comes as House Republicans are investigating if President Joe Biden tried to prevent or discourage his son from complying with their subpoenas. Hunter Biden and his lawyers have been critical of the subpoena for closed-door testimony. He has insisted on public testimony. And more court filings were unsealed today related to Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced child sex trafficker who died in prison in 2019. Appearing in the documents doesn't necessarily imply wrongdoing, as Epstein was part of high-profile circles. Well-known names in the last two batches include former President Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, renowned lawyer Alan Dershowitz, and the King of Pop, Michael Jackson. Clinton is not accused of wrongdoing, but came up in an unsealed email from 2011 between UK reporter Sharon Churcher and Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre. Court filings show Giuffre alleged Clinton pressured Vanity Fair magazine not to write sex trafficking articles about Epstein. Epstein accuser Johanna Schoberg is alleged to have met late pop star Michael Jackson at Epstein's house in Palm Beach. However, she did not accuse Jackson of any wrongdoing. The latest release also includes a deposition of Tony Figueroa, a driver for Epstein and Maxwell and former boyfriend of Epstein accuser Giuffre, who claimed that he was often tasked with driving girls to the mansion who looked like they were 16 or 17 years old. Each time he dropped them off, he said Epstein would pay him $200 each. More Epstein-related documents are expected to be unsealed in the coming days. In the Israel-Hamas war, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant outlined his plans for the next stage of fighting in Gaza. Military operations would focus on a targeted approach in the north, while continuing pursuit of Hamas leaders in the south. Operations would include raids, demolishing tunnels, and air and ground strikes. The announcement came as Israel continued drawing down its forces in Gaza. Gallant added that he envisions the enclave to be run by a Palestinian body, but under an overall Israeli security control.
Eli Lilly and Company launched a new digital health service that could smooth patient access to obesity drugs and other medications. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the update.
Eli Lilly and Company introduced Lilly Direct, a platform that will offer access to independent healthcare providers and home delivery options of certain weight loss drugs, including Zepbound. The platform's online pharmacy will automatically apply savings card discounts for people who qualify and will ship medicines free of charge. The move responds to the surging demand for weight loss drugs. Lilly said that its direct-to-consumer service will extend to patients with diabetes and migraines. The website's pharmacy page will feature products such as the migraine drug Emgality, insulin, and related items for convenient home delivery. Lilly announced it stands against use of the obesity and diabetes drugs Mounjaro and Zepbound for cosmetic weight loss. Christina Corona, NTD News.
California announced it is opening a new research park dedicated to science and technology. It aims to be a partnership between scientists and engineers to prevent the next global pandemic and treat diseases.
A former shopping mall and empty Google space in Los Angeles is going to be converted into UCLA Research Park, where University of California, Los Angeles scientists and engineers will work on potential cures for cancer and other diseases.
We are proud of our past, but we are enlivened about our future. And that future is quite literally being advanced here.
The 700,000 square foot property will host two multidisciplinary research centers, the California Institute for Immunology and Immunotherapy at UCLA and the Center for Quantum Science and Engineering.
The purchase of the Westside Pavilion exemplifies a remarkable collaboration between the university, the state of California, and partners in the private sector.
The new park is funded in part by the state and a group of founding donors from the biotechnology, academic, entrepreneurship, and philanthropic communities. Google, which previously leased part of the property, helped UCLA acquire the property. According to the governor's office, the state is saving about $223 million on the research park and opening years ahead of schedule.
It's the end of the first week of 2024, and Hollywood is already mourning the loss of some notable stars. NTD's Christina Corona has more on some big screen icons that have passed away.
David Soul, known for his role as one half of the crime-fighting duo Starsky and Hutch in a popular 1970s TV series, passed away on January 4th at the age of 80. His wife Helen Snell shared that Soul died after a valiant battle for life in the loving company of family. His exact cause of death was unknown. Glynis Johns, a Tony Award-winning stage and screen star who played Mrs. Banks in the timeless film Mary Poppins, passed away on January 4th at the age of 100. According to her manager, Mitch Clem, she passed away due to natural causes at an assisted living facility in Los Angeles. Clem expressed sorrow for Hollywood, stating, "Today marks a melancholic moment as she represents the final chapter of old Hollywood." Christian Oliver, the star of Speed Racer, died along with his two young daughters after their plane crashed into the sea near a Caribbean island on January 4th. Christina Corona, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come right back. California faces a massive budget deficit. One lawmaker has a plan: cut back on taxpayer funding for healthcare for illegal immigrants. Shen Yun Performing Arts kicks off their San Francisco shows. More on what audience members from opening day had to say. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Lamb. Beginning January 1st, for the first time, undocumented immigrants of all ages qualify for Medi-Cal, California's health insurance program for extremely low-income people. This is despite the state's historical budget deficit of $68 billion. NTD's David Zhang spoke with Assemblyman Bill Essayli about some of the cuts he is proposing.
Assemblyman Essayli, thanks for joining us. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom boasted of a $97.5 billion budget surplus in 2022. But just a year later, the state is seeing that surplus turn into a record $68 billion deficit. What happened?
Yeah, it's because we spent so much money during COVID on printing money and all this one-time injection of cash that went into the coffers, and the Democrats believed that they would get that much money every year forever. So they spent money as if money revenues would go up forever, and that's just not how budgeting works. So now they have to operate in reality. They have spent more than they have. They've budgeted for more than they have, and we're $68 billion in the hole. And we have to make some tough decisions on where to cut from.
Now, despite the historical budget deficit, California just became the first state in the country to offer state-sponsored health care insurance to all illegal immigrants. And you introduced a bill on the first day of the Assembly session to cut that from the state budget.
Yeah, so I don't think a lot of people knew that this new program would come online January 1st. We're going to be spending about $4 billion, if not more, to provide healthcare coverage for illegal immigrants. The good news about the California budget is when we talk about cuts, most of the time we're talking about cutting future spending. So nobody's going to lose or get less money than they're getting now. What we're mostly talking about is preventing increases in spending for schools or social services into the future years. And the Democrats have a lot of pet projects. They want to build this train to nowhere. They want to build housing for everybody. They want to spend unlimited amounts of money on homelessness, but we never see any results for it. So they have plans to spend money on a bunch of different topics in perpetuity. And so the good news for us is that we can just put a hold. We can stop the increases from kicking into the future cycles, and that will help us plug most of the budget deficit.
Now, how confident are you to get bipartisan support for this bill in a state legislature where Democrats hold a supermajority?
I think it's going to be up to the people. The people need to call their elected official and let them know that at a time when we are paying exorbitant rates for everything, whether it's utilities or car registration or taxes or healthcare, that we can't afford to send our money to citizens of other countries and take care of everyone else. We cannot create an incentive structure. We cannot have an incentive for illegal immigrants to come to California. If word gets out, which it is, that, hey, if you get over the border, just make it to California, you're going to be taken care of, you're going to get health care, you're going to get education, you're going to get all these things. Who would not come here? I mean, this isn't an issue of compassion. Look, if we had unlimited money, I'd be all for it. Let's take care of everyone that we can. My parents are immigrants. They're lawful immigrants. And so we're not trying to be mean or difficult. It's just, it's a reality of scarcity and that we have limited money and we have to prioritize. And so we have to remember at the end of the day, our government is formed and we're elected to represent our citizens. And that has to be our top priority.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman Essayli, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Audience members described feeling uplifted and hopeful after watching Shen Yun Performing Arts at its first San Francisco performance this season. Let's take a look.
Audience members at the San Francisco War Memorial Opera House shared their experience after attending Shen Yun Performing Arts at the beginning of 2024.
It was so much more than I expected. It was incredibly beautiful. Some of the effects that they had, for example, when in the background there would be images of people and then they would in fact step out and be real people. I mean, that was really fascinating the way they did that.
It's amazing the way they were able to just bring the whole story to life with the music. Just, totally, no words can describe it.
The emotions, the beauty, the sincerity, all the work that went into making it, I was very grateful for the privilege of attending this.
Established in 2006, the New York-based company has a mission to revive traditional Chinese culture. Shen Yun also depicts the ongoing persecution of beliefs carried out by the Chinese government.
That was heart-touching, very much. I didn't expect that. So it was like a really deep message that really reminds you we're all human, deep down to our core, and just not forget that. We all want freedom and to be ourselves.
I feel like it's a really rich culture and a long history and a lot of suffering and strength and hope.
With approximately 20 pieces in the performance, patrons enjoy the themes of kindness and hope.
It's actually very uplifting to hear that that's the intention of the dance, to make you feel hope for the future, and it was interesting to feel the bond between the traditional Chinese history and sharing it with our country.
We all need hope. There are so many aspects to this presentation that show that there is the possibility of hope and kindness, support. All the things that we hope for can happen. And this was the kind of presentation that would give people hope.
NTD News, California.
Switching gears to sports, the transfer portal isn't something new to college football. We've seen players exploring new opportunities and teams making strategic moves. But now, with the added layers of name, image, and likeness, NIL deals, the game is taking an unexpected turn. NTD's Carlos Reyes is here to talk about this new era in college football. Carlos, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, David, I honestly think college football is in a great spot. The playoff is expanding. We've got the whole new ball game of NIL, and the transfer portal is like a free agent market. It's a shift from the good old days of college football.
Absolutely. A lot of changes. Now, over 1,900 players in the transfer portal and NIL deals shaking things up. How do these two factors dance together, especially with players eyeing substantial financial opportunities?
Well, David, picture this. The transfer portal is like a giant mall for players. Lots of options for teams who have some holes to fill on their rosters. Now toss in NIL, players can earn cash through endorsements and deals, significantly more if they go to a big market team in any of the Power 4 conferences in 2024, those being the SEC, Big 12, Big 10, and ACC respectively. Now these worlds are colliding, David, with players becoming independently wealthy and making decisions based on market value. Take the example of quarterback Dylan Raiola, a Georgia commit who's now flipped to Nebraska after a significant financial offer. This is a kid coming straight out of high school. Money's not just talking, it's practically leading the conversation nationwide.
And the financial aspect of NIL and the transfer portal is indeed fascinating. How do you see the NIL market evolving for players, especially with high-dollar negotiations and the potential for donor fatigue?
Well, yeah, David, the NIL market has been a game changer ever since being introduced, particularly for high-profile positions like quarterbacks. Agents are negotiating contracts ranging from hundreds of thousands of dollars to several millions for these college kids. But the worry, donor fatigue, and it's obviously a big one. Those funding these NIL deals, estimated to have 8-figure bankrolls, expect on-field success in return for their contributions. And who's to blame them? As we move into 2024, it's a make-or-break year to see if this whole thing sticks moving forward.
Carlos, I hear this wasn't possible for athletes before. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, absolutely, David. It's a whole new landscape. It's a whole new ballgame with NIL, and USC quarterback Caleb Williams serves as a prime example of this. Traditionally, the journey from college athlete to a high NFL draft pick brought about a lifestyle shift, but the NIL era has rewritten that narrative completely. Williams, projected as a top 3 pick, has not only excelled on the field, but also has become a brand powerhouse. His partnerships with major brands like Wendy's, Postmates, Beats by Dre, and many others have provided him with significant compensation, creating a lifestyle previously reserved for professional athletes. Now imagine that. Your 20, 21, 22-year-old athletes that will make millions while still attending classes on a day-to-day basis. That's unheard of.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the players' newfound leverage is affecting the dynamics between athletes and coaches. How are these uncomfortable conversations regarding pay for play and NIL influencing the college football landscape?
Yes, David, it's indeed creating some awkward situations. Players are negotiating for better financial opportunities, and coaches are caught right in the middle of it. It's transforming the conversations from standard talks to business negotiations. Coaches are stuck in the middle trying to figure out this new reality while keeping the team together. It's a whole new ballgame, and not everyone's comfortable.
Now, looking ahead, what do you think the future holds for college football with the transfer portal and all this NIL business?
Well, David, it looks like we're on the edge of something big in collegiate sports. With over 1,300 players entering the transfer portal, change is coming. The money side of things isn't going away, and the future might see even more big changes. How everyone deals with these changes, from coaches to players to the NCAA, will decide where college football goes moving forward.
All right, Carlos, thank you so much for your insight. We'll see you next time.
No problem, David. It's always my pleasure.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Lamb, in for David Zhang. Have a wonderful weekend.